So welcome back to my channel. This is Gamer Dom and another top 5. So actually this time it's not going to be a top 5 and I'm going to explain why. So been running through all the different sort of best damage dealers, best spotting tanks for all the different tiers from tier 6 upwards. Just last week did the TDs at tier 8. So now we're going to do the fat boys, the heavy tanks at tier 8. So this is the top damage dealing heavy tanks at tier 8, both premium and non-premium, according to VBAddicts, who are a wonderful website. Go and have a check it out. All kinds of stats collected from the game across all different servers for the last 30 days. So this is the last 30 days across all servers, all heavy tanks, and how much damage dealt. Now the reason why I'm doing it as a top 7 this time is that there's a couple of oddities in this what would be a top 5, so it just seems a bit unbalanced somehow. So I'm going to start at 7 instead, and that's what we're going to do. So anyway, less kerfuffle, let's get going. So in total there are 37 heavy tanks in the game at tier 8. Apparently, according to VBAddicts, it seems quite a lot, and probably one of the larger categories of tanks, basically, in any tier. So at number 7 comes the Swedish meatball machine. This is the Emil 1. This thing, it's a great little tank. Funny enough, it's a real Marmite tank, I think, for a lot of people. Comes with an autoloader, a super turret that's almost impenetrable when hit. Hull not so good. So that turret, what's the front of that? 180, which doesn't sound much, but look at the sloping on that beastie. And coupled with extremely impressive gun depression, minus 12 degrees, means this thing is a ridgeline warrior par excellence. And it can dish out the damage, because the top gun on this thing, 105mm, with a penetration 217 with standard rounds, 242 if you resort to skill rounds, 320 average damage, and it has a 4 shell clip. So my maths is 1280, yeah, over 1200 damage per clip, which is pretty impressive for a tier 8. Now the reload obviously after that is fairly nasty, 34 seconds. But this thing is a support tank, which is just awesome to behold, and the stats work out pretty well for it. So 58,000 games, nearly 59,000 in the last 30 days, 1,069.76 average damage per game. So that's number 7. So in at number 6 is this Chinese tier 8 premium heavy tank. This is the WZ11111111. Gets preferential matchmaking, so it will only see tier 9s as a maximum, but a lot of them out there. 20,500 games in the last 30 days, 1,086.76 damage averaged per game, and it's not difficult to see why this boomstick on this, when you're generally up against, well, probably 6s to 9s. 175 gun penetration with a 122mm gun, 390 average damage, and a very good 250 penetration with its skill rounds, which I believe, yep, they're heat, giving you 390 average. Dispersion is horrible, aim time is horrible, but this thing gets in your face and derps you, and it's very good at it. Armor, very good as well, 120 on the front and quite well sloped, but the turret is awesome, 230mm of armor. So this thing is a brawler that dishes out the damage and certainly seems to merit being in the top 7. So at number 5 is an unusual tank, actually. Not the tank itself, because this came in 2 formats. This is the VK16801 brackets P tier 8 German super obese heavy tank. You will know this better as the Mauerbrecher, but it also was released subsequently with the non-camo that the Mauerbrecher has. And interesting, the Mauerbrecher comes in at 26 in the chart, so quite a lot down, whereas this thing comes in at number 5. Now admittedly very small sample size, which is hence why I've extended the chart from 5 to 7. Only 1,283 games. There's not many people playing this thing, but those that are playing it pretty well. 1,199.19 average damage, and it has a bicycle on the back, so yeah, absolutely awesome. Turret, 230 armor, sorry, on the front of that thing. Front plate 180, but it does have that machine gun port, which I believe is a weak spot, as well as the cupola at the top there. So a bit of a brute, slow moving, big arse gun. This thing has the 128mm German well, cannon, 220 penetration, 260 with skill rounds, 440 average damage. Dispersion, a bit like the WZ, not particularly good. 0.4 is terrible, and 2.7 aim time isn't too great either. But this thing comes in at number 5. So at number 4, according to VBAddicts, for the last 30 days, the heaviest damage dealing heavy tanks at tier 8 in the game right now. Yeah, a bit of a surprise for me, at least. This is the IS-5, or the Object 730. This is a Clan Wars reward tank. And I say surprising to me because when it never seems to get much press. Now, whether or not it's the fact it's so high on the charts, admittedly a low number of games, only just shy of 2,000 games in the last 30 days, but 1,208.11 average damage per game is not to be sneezed at. But whether or not it's down to the player ability, because you're tending to get some very good players playing this because they're Clan Wars guys, I don't know. But there it is, sitting there proudly at tier 4. Not that most of us will ever get our hands on this thing. So this will surprise a lot of people, I think. Coming in at number 3 is the game-breaking Object 252U Defender version. This is the tier 8 heavy tank that, well, I mean, I'm not going to go back over old ground, but this thing, when it came into the game, just caused the most animosity, hatred, anger, frustration of any vehicle in the game. I think it's fair to say, and was a continuation of this policy that wargaming seem to have nowadays, of introducing tanks as premiums that are at least as good, and in most cases better, than their non-premium edition. And that's certainly the case for this thing. This thing is a brute. Massive gun, massive armor, but it actually only comes in at number 3. Now that's a little bit false, because we'll see at number 2, but nearly 52,000 games. A lot of people like me, I'll be honest, rushed out and bought this thing the moment they had the opportunity, and continue to do so every time wargaming dangle it in front of us. 1,208.64 average damage, pretty much the same actually as the IS-5, but this thing is a brute, and really good. One of the biggest limitations on it is actually its gun accuracy, but that gun itself is awesome. It is 122mm gun, standard Russian heavy gun, 4 rounds per minute, 225 average penetration, 265 with skill rounds, 440 damage is awesome. So it's not particularly accurate, 0.44, and the aim time is horrible of 3.2, but when it fires, people notice, and that's what this thing is all about. But coupled with that, it has some superb armor. Well, it doesn't do it justice. That says it's 130mm of armor on the front there, but this beak, extreme beaking, makes it very hard to penetrate if it's coming straight at you, and you think, well, I'll fire at the lower plate. Well, good luck there. That's about 250 penetration on the front of the lower plate as well, and if it's angled slightly, turret is almost impenetrable, 250 average armor on the front there. So this thing, the tank that broke the game, discuss, comes in number 3. So I hinted at it just a minute ago, but at number 2 is the other version of the Defender. This is the plain adorned Object 252U, better known as the Defender, but it hasn't got all the pretty camo on it. You can put your own camo on it. Now, why that makes any difference on a heavy tank, I don't know, but it does make a difference in terms of damage, because it does 72 average damage more per game than the bedecked Defender. So 22,127 games, 1,280.61 average damage per game, puts this in at number 2 according to VBAddicts. And I have to say, I fully expected the Defender to come number 1, so the fact it didn't but came second and third was interesting to me. So let's have a look at what came first. So did you expect this to come in at number 1? Hold your hands up. I didn't. I have to say, I really didn't. I didn't know where it'd come, but it didn't come in, and I'm now rather regretting not buying this thing. So this is the Somua SM, the French Tier 8 Premium Heavy Tank. This is the autoloader variant. You've got the Liberte, which is also the Tier 8 Heavy French Premium, which has all the armour and a single shell gun, and this is the auto-loading variant of that tank. Well, not of that tank, but of the AMX line. This thing features a rather tasty 100mm gun. I'll click the button, Dom, that's better. Oops. Oh, come on, there we go. 5 shell magazine, 232 penetration average with standard rounds, 263 with skill rounds, 300 average damage. So even I can work the maths out there. 1,500 average damage per clip, which is pretty good indeed. Dispersion is not great, 0.4, and aim time is also not brilliant, 2.4. But this thing is very, very tasty. Now, it actually has a pretty good frontal plate, 140 frontal armour, pretty well angled, so that's not bad at all. Turret is pretty garbage though, 120 on that. But it's a bit of a beastie. Mobility wise, it's not particularly great, but it is a heavy tank after all, so what do you expect? 700 horsepower engine, 12.5 power ratio, actually it's not too bad. Top speed of 37. But this thing came in some time ago, probably around Christmas time, I think, if I remember rightly. You see a good few of them out there. 63,733 games across the last 30 days, according to VBAddicts. 1,305.70 average damage is pretty awesome. 1,300 damage averaged per game. That is a lot of damage across a lot of games. This is one of the higher usage tier 8 heavy tanks in the game right now, and the fact it comes in with such good high average damage means that it must be a brute. And yeah, that is why it is number 1. Did you see that coming? I didn't. Anyway, regular viewers will know that from now we just have a quick look at somebody playing this thing absolutely brilliantly, and there were plenty of games to choose from. So let's hop over, have a game, and then we'll be back with the bottom 3, the also-rans in the category. Okay, let's see this brute in action. This is Owidia, driving the Tier 8 French heavy tank, the Somua SM. He's on Westfield. He's got some lovely matchmaking. He is one of the chosen 3. He's also resplendent in 2 marks of excellence on his barrel. Not sure I like the fact he's immediately reached into the wallet and taken out a load of gold shells for his first clip, but you know, it is what it is. So he's going to come up and try and use the 10 degrees of gun depression. Oh, there's a a T29 really in the wrong place. And look at this gun. Boom, 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 boom. Can we finish him? Ah, typical. Doesn't that happen to you all the time? Happens to me all the time. First shell, you know, hit shell, 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 then the final one that would have killed him bounces. Again, he's reached in his pocket for his second round. Didn't need the premium against that T29, but I guess he was expecting to face something heavy and nasty. It's on that long reload, 34.43 seconds on his crew. He's obviously got a good one in there. He's now reloaded and he's coming round. And it's about shell management in these sort of auto-loading tanks, particularly in heavies. you can get yourself tied into a battle where there just isn't the space to pull back and reload your clip. And it's coming for a side angle here. We only have got a Lowe out there, but there's not really much else that he can't take down relatively easily. There's the Lowe. Boom. Bounced off the first one, aiming for the lower plate. Takes a couple of shots himself, there, a lack of armour. Putting it into the drive wheel of the Lowe. Reloading. $2,228 damage in, what's that, less than well, just over 2.5 minutes. Again, what I like about his play here is he's talking to his opponents, he's telling various people to fall back, even though they're ignoring him, but he's also relocating after each attack. So he's going in, having an attack, then pulling back. He's not really getting much support though. Look, these guys in the middle, the TDs in the middle are helping him, but the KV-85 is camping at the back, the TD was at the front. Welcome to World of Tanks, huh? He's trying to keep his eye on... Oh, that's interesting. So he blocked the VK. He's going all out for that Lowe. Wants him dead. There you go. Takes him. Takes two shots on the 30-01P, and takes him down with the rest of his clip. It was almost disdain there, wasn't it? It was almost like, oh, you can't do anything to me. And he took him down. Right, that's his second kill. He's already done 3,300 damage. Most of us would be just pleased with that. Telling the team again he's on reload. He's now got eyes on that AT-15A. There is an artillery, but he seems to escape the attention of the artillery in this game for a large part of it, which is kind of lucky really. Just about reloaded. Here we go. Last clip of premium. Wish he didn't use premium all the time, but hey. Well, that's the world of tanks these days. Straight through the front with a premium shell because didn't stand a chance. Armour doesn't matter when you've got premium. Finally, artillery pay attention to him. He has to go for a reload with one shell left. Pulls back. He's lost a lot of health there. Lots of health. Down to 250, just under 250 average health left. After that combined hit by the AMX 12 ton and the GW Tiger P artillery. So he's moving forward. He's decided that's not what he wants to do. Has he lost 2 crew members? Yeah, he has. He's lost 2 crew members. That's not a good situation to be in. And his medical kit is on. That's the word, Dom. Medical kit is on reload. So he's going to be a while while he can't even get back one of the crew members, let alone 2 of them. I mean, nobody needs a radio man, do they? Wasted a shot there. That's un-Unicum-like, and he is definitely in that Unicum category, this guy. The Su-152 was trying to poke over. Didn't have the gun depression, so dropped back down again, and we're on reload again. Welcome to World of Reloads. As I say, clip management is vital when you're in these auto-loading tanks. Knowing when to reload, when to pull back, get yourself, have a breath, and then push forward again. He's asking somebody to kill the artillery, which generally you don't need to ask. That's usually a priority target for everybody. His repairs back up. His first aid's back up. Is that a glitch? I wonder, because it's showing that they're injured, but it doesn't appear that he's reloading anything. Oh, that was a yeah, nearly hit his own player there. He's reloading again. If there's no artillery to worry about, it's 10 all. It's an incredibly tight game. He's done 5,706 damage and got 3 kills so far. Working his way through the enemy team. Every time they get level, the enemy team pull ahead again. Yeah, that must be a glitch, because he hasn't made any attempt to reload, and it doesn't seem to have impacted his reload speed. And generally, any crew members down reduces your reload speed, so it must be a glitch. Sometimes the replays do have glitches, which is awkward and frustrating in equal measure. So his battered old French heavy tank moves back round. He's trying to get... I think he was just keeping an eye on whether that Jag Panther was going to pop up behind him. It's now 11 plays 12. Is he actually thinking of having a shot on that KV-85? I know he hasn't done much to help, but you know, if nothing else, he may attract attention from the enemies, like a fly to a... yeah. It's a weird phase this he goes through in the middle of this game. He played it all so wonderfully well, and it was almost like he didn't really know what to do after that. All that hill fighting, he did a brilliant job taking out enemy, picking on the priorities, knocking them down, and then you know, making sure that he went for the higher value targets each time. Since then he seems a bit lost, and it's partly, I guess, he's, you know, these teams largely been behind the 8 ball. It's been a little bit sort of nip and tuck. He's also on very low health now, but he's definitely playing a bit more weird. Now, it's got reasonably good view range. 370 for a heavy tank is not too bad, and he's probably got, well, he's definitely got a very good crew in there, which means he's probably got very good improved viewing range. Oh, it's really, you're going to do that, Panther? Whoa. Now he's got to move. He's only got one shell, goes for the reload instantly, trusting to the fact the Panther isn't going to push him. Panther probably, well, the thing is, you need to try and count the shots when you're up against something like this, Somua, and I don't know. The Panther's only got eyes for the KV-85, so we can't really do much to help him at the moment. KV-85 is being eaten. Just about reloaded, 5 seconds, and then we got this boy. Here we go. Right, let's go. One shot, 2 shots, he's down. Keep moving. Instant reload. So there's a Jag Panther 4 and a Nashorn out there. We haven't seen the Nashorn at all yet, but he has got a kill. $6,466 damage. He's asking, where are the enemy? Now, according to my mod, it's saying the enemy team have 1,200 damage health left, and he's asking whether any of them are one shots. And I don't think, well, certainly the Nashorn probably isn't with that number of hit points left for the team. If that's correct, sometimes these mods aren't actually 100% correct. You've got to play it carefully. The Jag Panther has obviously played pretty well. He's got 3 kills himself. Widia has got 4 himself. He's got 6,000 damage, and he kind of, again, he's in this sort of perplexed state. He doesn't really seem to know what to do. It's almost like he expects somebody to help him out. But Unicorns wouldn't do that, would they? That KV-85 is still sitting there in the field. Is he a bot? I'm wondering whether he's a bot, because he just seemed to have sat there since day one. And he's still alive, though, amazingly. Generally, somebody sitting still for any length of time would have been an instant target for the artillery, but clearly was not. So it's coming back towards the cap. There's only 4 minutes left of this game. Now, in theory, his team should be one attacking, but we can see the KV-85 is AFK or not there, I don't know. But he's asking the artillery to try some blind shots into likely bushes where the TDs might be. You never know, you might get lucky, and while they've got nothing else to do, I guess he might as well. Crossing over to the other side, using what mobility this thing has. As we saw, it's not the most mobile heavy tank in the world, but it's not bad. I mean, it's not bad at all. I should stop shaking around like that. Makes me feel like I'm having an epileptic fit or something. Let's just speed it up just a little bit to get this up. Get him up the hill quickly. minutes left. He's talking to the artillery. He's saying to the artillery, when it gets down to 2 minutes to go, you move forward, which I think is a little hopeful. Came over there expecting to be spotted, but no joy so far. Obviously the camera on this thing is not fantastic. It's a heavy tank after all, so it's likely to get spotted before. We are down to 2 minutes left. He's asking the artillery to move forward. Is the artillery likely to move forward? I don't know. Oh, he's been spotted. There's the Nashorn. Nashorn's not looking his way. Misses with the first shell. He's going to die here, surely. Oh, and he blocks a shot. Oh, it takes the Nashorn down. My goodness me. Lucky, lucky, lucky. Blocked a shot from the Nashorn. Now he's going to move. Given away his position completely. Gone for a reload immediately. It's only that Panzer left. And that Panzer has had a pretty good game. Only 1 minute 19 seconds left. Can he find him before the game's over? Will the Nashorn hide himself away? What would you be doing if you're in the Nashorn right now? Which you can't win the game, can you? So you'd be hiding. They would need 2 or 3. Monday, for all he knows, the KV-85 is somewhere around. He's got to be somewhere around this cap, ready to try and reload, take the cap off. Reset the cap, that's what I'm thinking. I'm so excited I can't speak properly. 40 seconds left. This is heading for a draw. Oswald Owadia, every time I say his name I get it differently, don't I? He's been spotted. He's got 5 kills. Can he get a shot on? But actually that shot came from behind him. There he is there. Now can the artillery hit him? 17 seconds left. Artillery takes the shot. No dice. It's heading for draw because that's 8 seconds left. He said a rude word and I can understand his frustration because that's a draw. So a cracking game there for the #1 heavy damage dealing tank at tier 8. Ace tanker on a draw is a blooming good result. He got bruiser, he got duelist, fighter, fire for effect and high caliber. Finished up unsurprisingly top of his team by some considerable distance. Nearly 7,000 damage, 5 kills, 1152 base XP. That Jag Panther at the end, or Jag Panzer at the end, just had just enough camo to be able to get him without being returned on. So he finished up with his 4th kill and actually finished top of his team for base XP. So good job to him. Our hero fired 36 shots. He hit with 29 of them and penned with 26. For that nearly 7,000 damage. He took 13 hits himself, 6 of which penned, including that critical one at the end. 7 bounced, which is a lot considering this thing doesn't have a huge amount of armor, but then I guess he was top tier, so that explained that a little bit. Doesn't run a premium account. That's got to be glitched because he fired quite a lot of premium at the beginning. It's saying 122,500 profit. Yeah, doubt that. He probably made about 30 grand or so. Which is not too bad, but it was an epic game. And with experience for his crew, nearly 2,000 without a premium account would have been nearly 3,000 with a premium account. So there you go. That is the top damage dealing heavy tank at tier 8 according to VBAddicts. A bit of a surprise, I think, certainly for me. Anyway, let's see the rest. So there you go, an awesome game in the Somua. So let's look at the also-rans, the bottom of the tree. As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of tier 8 heavy tanks, so lots of competition for top and bottom slots. 37 heavy tanks at tier 8 in the game right now. And at number 35, so third from the bottom, is the American underachiever. This is the T32 tier 8 American heavy tank. I say underachiever because it follows on from the outstanding T29, which everyone loves. Whereas pretty much everyone seems to loathe this thing. I don't understand that loathing. I think it's quite a nice little heavy tank. It's been a little bit left behind in the current meta. 105mm gun, 5.66 rounds per minute, 198 average penetration, 245 with premium rounds, 320 average damage. Dispersion is not great, 0.41, and aim time of 2.3. But that's why it comes in where it does. On 61,700 games, 751.21 average damage per game. But it does have one redeeming feature, and that's its turret, a bit like the T29. 298 average armor on the front of that thing, and a big gun mantle as well. So this thing, in the right situation, when you can use its fantastic gun depression, which is, let me remind myself, 10 degrees. Actually, not fantastic, it's pretty good gun depression. When you can get this thing hull down, it will bounce shells all day long. But if you expose your armor, you're going to get penned. Only 128 on the front of this thing. So that comes in number 35, third from the bottom. So the fact this thing comes in at 36, second from the bottom, will not surprise people who are trying to grind down the German heavy tank line like I am. This is the Tiger II, probably one of the most feared tanks on the battlefield in the Second World War. But a sad imitation of it in the game. A bit like the Tiger I, frankly. Good tank, the Tiger I, but really not what it was like in reality. And this thing, well, stats don't lie. A lot of games, a lot of people like me are trying to work their way through it. 93,672 games, only 713.69 average damage per game, according to VBAddicts over the last 30 days. And it's not hard to see why. The gun's okay, 105mm, 5.77 rate of fire, 225 average penetration, 285 with premium, 320 average damage. Nice and accurate, 0.31 base dispersion, 2.5 aim time is also pretty good indeed. But it really doesn't have any armor, which is part of its problem really. It's big, it's relatively slow. 150 frontal armor, and look, it's not very well angled. Only 185 on the turret. So, you know, most tier 8 tanks, certainly tier 9s and tier 10s that you're inevitably going to be facing, will cut through this thing like a knife through butter without even having to resort to the skill rounds. And it really, this Tiger II, the Tiger I, I believe, need serious buffing by Wargaming, because it definitely has been left behind by the current meta in the game. But that's your second from bottom. So if something has been left behind in the new meta of the game and seriously needs a buffing, it's this thing. This is the KV4, big brother of the KV3, which I believe came in bottom of the tier 7 heavy tanks as well. So theme of crappiness continues, although I quite like the KV3. But the KV4 is really struggling. 34,304 games in the last 30 days, barely touching 700 average damage, 700.41 average damage per game. And I feel your pain out there, a bit like the Tiger II. If you're trying to grind this thing like I am, it's horrible, absolutely horrible. Why is it horrible? Well, it's got no real armor for a start. 180 on that turret, but look how boxy it is. 180 on the front of the hull, but you got a lovely big flat spot here across the middle, which is very easy to pen. Got a big cupola on the top. It really doesn't fit. It isn't fit for purpose down at tier 8, especially with the fact tier 8's seen tier 9s and tier 10s so often. Gun's not so bad on it. Very nice gun, 107mm gun, 5.83 rounds per minute, 227 average penetration, 289 with the APCR rounds it fires as premium, and 320 average damage. And dispersion for a Russian gun is actually very good, 0.38, aim time of 2.9. So with a decent crew, this thing can actually perform gun wise, but it's the armor that lets it down, and it's a big slow beastie. What am I getting out of this? And I've got a very good crew in this thing. 9.32 power ratio, 30 kph top speed, traverse speed 20.81. It's just horrible to play, and so that's why it comes in at the bottom. 34,000 games, as I say, and 700 average damage. That is 600 less than the number one Somua SM, which is just a huge amount of damage. Anyway, there you go. That's your bottom. Not really your bottom, you know what I mean. So there you go. There's the top, top 7 and bottom 3 damage dealing heavy tanks at tier 8 in the game right now, according to VBAddicts. The whole list, all 37 tanks, including some of those tanks you just don't get anymore, like the Alpine Tiger and the what's the other one, that weird one, Nameless tank, which only was available on the Southeast Asian server. That's all included in this chart because, as I said at the beginning, it covers all servers, so even the Chinese server, for the last 30 days. So you can look at the charts there and see where you think things are fit badly and why you disagree with the stats, but you know, you can't. That's the way it is. That's how it's being played. Personally, very surprised the Somua was so high. I know it's a good tank, but I expected it to be a little bit lower than that. I was also expecting things like the Patriot to be higher than it actually is. It's down there at number 19. I was actually pleasantly surprised the KV5 came in as high as it did at 27. I fully expected that to be way down the pile. Anyway, the full list is there in the video descriptions to have a look at. I'd love to know what you think. Were you surprised? What did you expect to see up there? What do you think about those tanks that are number 1 to 7? So I extended it slightly because of the repeats on the Defender, and also the fact of the IS-5's up there, which is a tank most people will not ever have a chance to own. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. In the meantime, enjoy your games, have fun, try not to take it too seriously, and I'll see you again soon. This is GamerDom signing out.